So I'm going to be talking about the different supplies that I use for the Silverpoint. And you can find a variety of different styles and slight variants online or in different shops depending on where you go. But they all have the same characteristics. And so the first thing that I use is this stylus. And this one is specifically designed for Silverpoint, but you can find standard styluses that are quite a bit cheaper that would do just as good of a job. And what this basically does is it just holds the metal that we're going to be using. And so it has two different sides on this one, and the one side has a bigger hole that can fit a larger piece of metal, and the other one has a smaller one. And so this will work with a variety of different types of I guess your medium, depending on where you get it from. And so I really like the aesthetic of this also, and it has a little bit of weight. And so this is what I like to use for the Silverpoint stylus. And then the next thing that you'll need is your silver, or whatever metal you're using. And you can actually use any type of metal if you prepare the surface correctly, not just silver, even though silver was historically the most popular used metal for this. And so I have a couple different pieces of silver. This one is a slightly larger piece. So this is actually a pure piece of silver. It's 100%, there's no alloy mix. And depending on where you get this, you can find silver that's like 99% silver, or even more of an alloy where it's mixed with other softer metals or different types of metals. And so that's kind of up to your discretion on what you want to use. Obviously, pure silver is going to be more expensive than a mix with other metals, but I feel like it's a little more romantic and classical to, use a pure metal, a pure piece of metal, but it honestly doesn't matter too much. So I have this, which is silver. I have this, which is also silver. It's a smaller piece, and so I think this is more of an alloy. It's not 100% silver, but it's fairly close to pure silver. And then I have a really, really fine piece of silver that you can actually bend and snap if you wanted to with your fingers. It's really, really small. I don't think you can see it, but there's actually a point on one end, and then it's like a clean cut on the other side. So you have two different marks you can make on either side, depending on which one you put in. And then you can even find some irregular shaped ones. So this is also pure silver, just about as pure as you can get. But it's in a different shape, and so you can actually put this side of it in a piece of wood, like in balsa wood. You can actually just kind of press it in, and then you have a nice little stylus there with a point. Mine's a little crooked, probably just from not storing it very well, but these things will stay sharp forever. You really don't have to sharpen them. When you're applying the Silverpoint, you're literally just taking off small little atoms of silver and putting it on the paper. And there's just so much silver in one of these points, and so little that's coming off onto your paper that it can stay sharp forever. But you can use a really fine sandpaper if you want to modify the shape a little bit. And you don't have to use silver, as I was saying. Gold is another popular one. Silver will tarnish over time, which kind of has this really nice effect, but it's not ideal for everyone. Gold won't tarnish at all. It'll look the same as soon as you put the mark down forever. And so this is actually a piece of zinc. So you can find, copper, gold, zinc, platinum, tin, bronze, basically any type of metal you can think of. You can find it online in either a wire form. Obviously gold, it's pretty much only available in like a really small amount, like a small wire, and that can be even pretty expensive. This was really, really inexpensive, and so you can play around with different metals and see what types you can find and experiment with the effects they give. I found that like gold, when you apply it down, it's not yellow or anything like that. It looks very similar to silver. They're all very, very subtle differences. The biggest difference is that some get darker than others. The zinc gets much darker than silver does, and so if I wanted to pop in some darkness on a pretty shallow range of depth, which that you can only achieve with Silverpoint, I can make that range a little deeper by adding some more darks with this. And then Silverpoint is generally considered permanent, non-erasable. But I found that if you use a really, really hard eraser, this is a replacement for an eraser pen, which I don't have with me right now, so I'm just using the replacement. But it's a really hard, small eraser. And I can use this to not really erase the marks, but lighten them up, maybe like between 40 and 60% after I first put them down. So when I'm kind of sketching in the basic composition of what I'm wanting to do, I can lighten it a little bit, so it's more of like building on top of a lighter layer more than like entirely erasing it. And then the last thing you need is the paper. And so what I did is I toned this myself. This is Stonehenge paper, and I bought a pre-mixed powder for Silverpoint. And so I've made it myself before with but it's quite difficult to collect all the ingredients, because you need like Bianco d'Osso, or like bird bone, gesso, rabbit skin glue, all this weird like stuff you would think of for like a spell or a witchcraft, or I don't know, some crazy stuff that's kind of hard to find in most of your cities. But you can find on Natural Pigments, the website Natural Pigment, you can find a pre-mixed powder with all those ingredients already in it that you just have to soak in warm water for a couple hours before you use it. And so that's what I did. I just soaked it in warm water for the directions, added some sanguine pigment to get a light chroma on the paper, and then applied about 3 to 4 layers on the paper.